How to legally buy properties with no money. My name's Samuel Leeds. I started from scratch and I built up my portfolio starting with no money. So yes, it is possible. This video is supposed to help people. The purpose of this video is for people who want to buy a property, want to get into investment and haven't got a lot of money and want to really grow. This is the purpose of the video. Sometimes people see what I've done in property and what I'm teaching, and I'm telling people how they can get started with very little money, and they desperately try to discredit it and find reasons why it can't be done. If you are the kind of person that desperately tries to find reasons why something can't be done, believe me, you'll find reasons. I mean, generally there's just two types of people. There's make it happen people, there's people that find solutions, and then there's make it not happen people and people that find problems. If you're the latter, you may as well stop watching the video because you're not going to be successful in this business anyway. If you've got a lot of money, it's very easy to invest in property. You can literally just buy houses, you get a passive income, you can pay people to do the work for you. It's really, really easy. If you haven't got money and you're starting from scratch, it's difficult. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes energy. But even if you've got no money, can it be done? Absolutely. And how do I say that? I say that because I've done that, and I say that because lots and lots of my students have done that as well. So I'm going to be giving, in this video, I'm going to be holding nothing back. This is probably going to be one of the most powerful, informative videos I've ever done. So watch till the end if you're one of the people that want to actually do this. Because sometimes people say to me, they're like, Samuel, you can't buy properties with no money. My response is, you're absolutely right. You can't, I can. And I just continue doing what I'm doing. I'm buying a lot of properties right now. I'm buying big deals. I've bought small deals. I have been involved in hundreds and hundreds of property transactions over the last decade. The crazy thing is this, most people that are big time investors, you know, like you look at Robert Kiyosaki, author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Grant Cardone, these people that are multiple millionaires. Grant Cardone's worth hundreds of millions. I'm a multi-millionaire, but these guys are more successful than I am. And guess what? They're not using their own money to buy properties. They're buying properties and getting an infinite return. So I want to give you a few strategies on how you can do it. If you've stuck around and you've not switched the video off yet, congratulations. It shows me that you're one of the camp that's a solution finder, that's hungry, and is actually going to do this. So first way is really straightforward, and that's just borrow other people's money. That's it. Buying property without using any of your money, that doesn't mean that no money is involved. If you're good at finding property deals, and you can find deals, you can negotiate them, you can stack them, the cash flow's great, you can just borrow someone else's money. Guess what? That's called a no money down deal. It's not no money down, but it's no money from your perspective. So that's the first way. When I started out in property, bought my first house, I used the bank's money, because when I started, it was a little different. You could be very, very leveraged. So the banks would lend, I mean, I started in 2008, but 2007, banks were lending 100% mortgages. There's thousands of people in the UK that were buying properties 100% financed by the banks. In fact, it caused problems. The banks ran out of money. And then when the banks ran out of money, they stopped lending altogether. And then suddenly no one was able to buy houses. That's what brought the recession on. Not to say that it's necessarily always smart to buy properties without using your money. But if you know how to find the right property, then it is smart because you're buying something that's appreciating in value, that's producing cash flow, and you've not put in any money yourself. That's smart. A lot of people got burned in 2007 because they were borrowing the bank's money. They were buying houses to live in. They weren't making any cash flow. They were buying in wrong areas that weren't trending upwards. So you can lose money in property. That's the first way. That's what I did starting out, borrowed the bank's money. Then my second property was really good deal, and I borrowed my grandma's money. And listen, I'm not from a wealthy background. No one gave me a penny in terms of, Samuel, here's a startup loan. The reason my grandma gave me the money was genuinely because she wanted the return on investment. She had money in the bank, and I'm not talking big money, by the way. First time I borrowed money from my grandma, because I've borrowed money twice, was £15,000. So I borrowed £15,000, which is enough for me to put down a deposit on a house, and I gave her 10% return on investment. But then myself, the property was giving me 24% return on investment. The property is producing 24% return on investment. That means if you put down 10 grand, you're making 2,400 a year. That's how you calculate. So I'm getting 24%. My grandma's getting 10%, I'm getting 14%. So I'm getting paid more than she is, and she put in 100% of the money. Yeah, I'm getting paid more on a monthly basis. How's that fair? Because I found the deal. She put the money in. I'm getting the capital appreciation on the house. The house is going up in value. I'm benefiting, not my grandma. In fact, after 4.5 years, because I agreed to pay her back after 5 years, by the time the 5 years was getting close, my grandma was like, Samuel, I want to have a word about that money that I gave you. I'm thinking she's upset with me because of how much money I've made, and I'm feeling guilty. But actually, she wanted to talk to me because she wanted to extend the agreement. Why? Because she was using the interest that she was getting, £1,500 a year, to go on a cruise every year. And she was like, it's a free cruise. My money's not shrinking in the bank. I'm getting a free cruise. Samuel, have more money. This is win-win, and that's what business is. So when I started out at 17 years old and broke, I wasn't looking for a handout. I wasn't looking to buy property without using any of my money and scrounge or get people to feel sorry for me because I didn't have money. Win. So thank you, Grandma. I love you very much. Thank you for believing in me and starting me out. That was a no money down deal for me. How can you say that you can't do no money down deal? Some of you watching this even, well, my grandma wouldn't lend me money. Well, find someone else. I didn't approach my grandma. First, I was going around networking events, pitching business people. That's one way. So borrow money from the bank, borrow money from an individual, basically find good deals and use someone else's money besides your own. That's called no money down from your perspective. Number 2, lease option agreements. Now, lease option agreements sound a little bit complicated, and a lot of people understand about lease option agreements but don't do them. And the reason they don't do them is because it's like too theoretical. It's too theoretical. But let me tell you something, lease option agreements is how I started out. It was one of the strategies I used to grow severe wealth in my property portfolio. And here's what it is. Lease option agreement is very simple. Buy a house now, pay for it later. So it's like delayed sale. You're not going to delay it by 3 months. Usually with a lease option agreement, it could be 3, 5, 7 years. So what I did when I was starting out was I'd find properties in trending areas. And what I mean by trending areas is they've bottomed out, so you predict there's going to be a capital appreciation. You find properties that are high cash flowing properties where there's landlords or vendors that want to sell the property for whatever reason. Normally when people are selling a property, they are selling it because they need the money. They are selling this property to buy this property. They're not the kind of sellers that you want to speak to in trying to get a lease option agreement. You want to be looking for sellers whereby they want to sell the property, but they don't need or can't get the money now. What does that mean? That means that they're selling the property just because they don't want the property anymore. Maybe they're tired of it, they're moving away, whatever. There's like hundreds of thousands of properties for sale. So you need to find people that are either selling it because they don't need the money or they can't get the money. They're in negative equity. So when they sell it, all of the money that they make, they're gonna have to pay people back that they've borrowed the money against the property, banks or whoever. So when you find people like that and you say, hey, look, I'll buy the house off you now. I'll pay 100% market value. I'll give you exactly what you want, but I'll pay you what you want, but on my terms. I'll pay you in 7 years. And in the meantime, I'll take over the property, take complete control of the property. From their point of view, they don't need the money now anyway. So they're gonna get relief, instant relief of the property, and you're gonna take it on. But you've not paid them a penny. They've got that, and they've got the price that they want, but it's just been delayed. But it doesn't matter because they don't need that money now anyway, or they can't get it anyway. So that's the person you wanna speak to. Now, from your perspective, you take the property on, and guess what? You then rent it out. Maybe you split it up and turn it into a HMO. Maybe whatever. But you've got to make sure that the property's cash flowing you positive. How much did you put down? Nothing. You need to put down £1 as a transaction fee to make the contract legal. And you need to pay a solicitor to draw up the contracts, okay? But maybe you could borrow that money, right, from point one. Tiny, tiny, weeny bit of money. But here's the thing. You're getting cash flow straight away. And you've bought the property and you know the area's trending. So in 7 years, if the property's doubled in value, or even if it's just gone up by 20%, who benefits from that? You do. That is a lease option agreement. Buy now, pay later. What the government try and get you to do, and what the media and advertisers try and get you to do, is use these philosophies on buying liabilities. Like, buy a car on a credit card. Great decision, right? That's what they say. But that's not a great decision, because the car doesn't give you any cash flow, and it depreciates in value. The banks will say, buy a holiday, get married, and put it all on us, on the bank. Or buy it now and pay for it later. And these companies will say, buy it now, pay for it later, because they know that'll be attractive for you. But the problem is, by the time you come to pay for it later, it's dropped in value and you've not got any cash flow. However, this is why property is so good. This is how you can buy a house starting with no money. You do a lease option agreement, you agree to buy it for 100 grand. Now it's worth 100 grand, but you agree to buy it in 7 years for 100 grand. After 7 years, I don't know, maybe it's worth 200 grand, maybe it's worth 150, but you have the option, regardless of what the seller, if the seller changes his mind, regardless, you had a contract. And by the way, I've done a lot of these, and I've had it where the sellers have tried to pull out at the end of the contract, at the end of the 5 or 7 years, and they can't. So I know in the comments people are gonna be saying, what happens if they change their mind? They can't. So you've got a really good buy right there. But the question is, how can you even pay for it? Well, how you can pay for it is for 7 years, you've been getting cash flow. What are you gonna do with that cash flow? I'll tell you what you're gonna do with it. You're gonna put it aside, you're gonna save it up for the deposit on the house. And then when you buy the house, you've used the money self-funded from the property. And then when you buy it, you can probably instantly refinance it anyway, because after 7 years, you buy it after 7 years, probably you're gonna need some new carpets, a new kitchen and stuff, because 7 years is a long time. Properties need a bit of facelift every so often. Give it a facelift, get the valuer to come and look at the property and say to the valuer, you know, can you smell the paint? Can you see the kitchen? And then you're gonna refinance it at its new current value. Pull the money back out, and then suddenly you've recycled the money as well. Boom shaka. That's the buy, refurbish, refinance strategy combined with lease option agreement strategy, using how much of your own money? Nothing. What do you need? You need knowledge. That's what you need. You need knowledge, you need courage. Just for the fun of it, I do financial freedom challenges where I start all over again from scratch, starting with no money, and I build up a portfolio from scratch. How? Using my knowledge. That's the thing I want to pass on. I give a lot of money to charity. I have Samuel Leeds Foundation, and I've been doing that for years and years. But one of the things I'm most excited about now is we're building a school out in Uganda. And why am I so excited about that? Because it's knowledge. And that's what I want to pass on. I can give money to people, but I'd rather pass on knowledge. Same as YouTube. I just want to pass on so much knowledge because I've done this myself. I physically have done this, and I have been doing for a decade. There's raising finance or using other people's money. There's lease option agreement. Next, I mean, you can deal package. You can find good properties. If you haven't got the money, you can pass them on to someone else and take a broker fee. And then with that fee, what are you going to do with it? Charge a fee, on average, a fee is £3,000. Do it 5 times, that's £15,000. Put that towards a deposit on your own house. This is a really powerful one now. There's joint venturing. Because do you know what people say, and it freaks me out? It's always broke-minded people, and usually broke-minded people are also broke people. They have no money. Broke-minded people are people that try and find reasons as to why they can't do something. Technically, because people say, oh, but what about the legal fees? Oh, but what about the pound? It's like, come on, get real. What about the pound? I could literally say to you right now, I'm gonna give you a free house. Come to London, come to my house, I'll pay for the legal paperwork, and I'll sign over a house to you for free, unencumbered, no mortgage, it's yours. And some people could say, it's not free though, is it? Because I've got to get to London, I've got to pay the petrol money. I'm trying to give people an opportunity to get started from scratch, or from as close to scratch as possible. You know, you've got a few thousand in the bank, right, what do we do? Because I'll tell you what most people are saying. Most people are saying you need £25,000 as a deposit. The government are saying save up 4 grand a year and then put it into a help to buy scheme, and we'll give you incentives, but you have to live there. You can't do it as an investment. And the banks are saying we'll give you money to get married, we'll give you money to go on holiday, but we won't give you money to invest in property because that's risky. We encourage you to buy now, pay later when it comes to liabilities. But lease option agreement, everyone will tell you a lease option agreement's risky. Oh, it's risky though. What happens if the house doesn't go up? You walk away. What happens if you can't rent it out? You have a 3-month break clause. And they just come up with stuff because they don't understand it and they're risk averse people. But it's like, how is it acceptable to buy now, pay later on a holiday or a wedding or a car? How is that acceptable? But to do it on a smart, strategic property investment, it's suddenly all risky. And your friends start saying, you know, be careful, be careful. It's crazy. It's the same as when, if I'm eating terrible and I'm eating at McDonald's every day and I'm having Snicker bars in bed with a beer. No one cares, no one says anything. But then you start eating healthily and people say, be careful, don't go too skinny. Oh, you're not eating enough meat, you're eating enough meat. Why do you suddenly care so much? And it's the exact same. You're broke as heck with no money and a job that you hate, waking up in the morning dreading going to work, with a wife or a partner that's miserable because of how little you're at home because you're a slave to, right? No one cares. No one says a word. But then you say, I'm gonna learn how to invest in property and I'm gonna get trained and then people say, oh no, be careful, be careful, be careful. Like, geez, we are broken-minded, messed up. So joint venture, how does that work? 2 people, 1 person has knowledge, skill, courage, determination, ability to negotiate, ability to find deals. They have time to view houses, but they have no money. The other person has money, but nothing else. No courage, no skills, no time. They've got money sat in the bank doing nothing. And this person has got no money, but they've got everything else going for them. And this person says to this person, hey, how about this? Here's a deal. It needs 50 grand, and then we need 20 grand to do a refurb, and then we pull all the money out. My suggestion is, you put the money in, I'll do everything, I'll project manage it, I'll get the power team together, I'll found the deal, I'll oversee it, I'll do everything, and then we'll go 50-50 on the profits. What you're bringing to the table as your joint venture partner is the value you're bringing is you're putting the money in. The value I'm bringing is everything else. And I think that the value is 50-50, so we go 50-50 on the profits. That's called a joint venture. But who pays for the legal agreements to be drawn up? They do, because their end of the bargain is to put all of the money in. Your end of the bargain is to do everything else. 50-50 on the profits. Do that twice and it's as if you're making 100% of a deal and you put no money in. Lack of money is not your problem. Lack of knowledge and lack of courage is your problem. So there's a few ways. There's so many more. I mean, you can control properties instead of owning them, you can control them. Like Amazon doesn't own its stock. Don't worry about owning things, but control everything. That's what Warren Buffett says. Don't worry about owning things, control everything. That's why Uber don't own their taxis. They don't own it, but they control everything. That's why Airbnb, they don't own their hotels. Massive company, they control the property. In the same way, you can do that. And honestly, I've seen people do this starting with nothing. They've started with their mom's house and they've rented it off their mom for a cheap rent. And then they've just rented the rooms out on Airbnb and kept the profit. That's called controlling a property and then taking it from general rent, pushing up the rent, forcing the rent up and getting super rent, keeping the cash flow in between. Pull your sleeves up, get creative, and start making this stuff happen. I've got to the point in my business now whereby I've built a large portfolio. I'm still doing big deals. I'm doing big development deals. You can see it on my YouTube channel. I put a new YouTube video every single day on property. I got to the point now where the money's great. I love making money, it's awesome. But the thing that gives me more satisfaction than anything is the significance that it gives me when you become successful. So I started working class with nothing. When you do the same, and when you get some success, hunt me down, tell me. I'll bring you on the YouTube channel. We can celebrate. You get money, I get significance, win-win. That can be our joint venture. If you enjoyed the video, smash the like button. Also, if you're not subscribed, I'm putting a video on tomorrow, and then guess what? The next day and the next day, I'm putting up videos every day. You don't want to miss them, so turn the notification bell on, because this stuff is much better than you'll watch on the TV. So turn the notification bell on, subscribe, drop a nice comment, and I'll see you next time. Thanks so much.